and Jay. Small crowd, but we're all happy you're here. Pam, our lovely gallery director, will start us off.
Okay, I just wanted to introduce, this is a patient.
Microphone.
Oh, sorry. Hi, this is a patient-artist conversation between the therapist from the D.D. Hirsch Foundation and Mila Fejzo and Donna Bernstein. I'm sorry, I didn't know your last name. And today we're here. This is an event associated with Art and Med. We have a 10-week art exhibit and about 6 corresponding events that go along with a theme to try to bring awareness and educate the public and raise funds for a charity. And this time for this exhibit, we're doing mental health. It's called Unpack Your Mind, and we're working with the D.D. Hirsch Foundation.
I'm going to say most of the times when I do these talks, the illnesses are more physical. So I sort of feel like I'm a little out of my element here. So if I say anything that is not appropriate, or I'm very good about talking about pain and people in the hospital and people with long-term chronic things, but this is not totally my wheelhouse, even though I had one period of really bad depression where I thought about killing myself every single day for about a year, and then it vanished, and I don't know how it came, and I don't know why it left. So I'm just going to say now, if I say anything that seems insensitive, I'm not insensitive. I just don't know. So we're going to start. Mila?
Hi.
Hi. Okay. You're an LA-based artist, educator. What do you teach?
I taught art at a museum in Pittsburgh before I moved back here.
Okay.
Screen printing primarily.
Great. Okay. Well, your bio says primarily oil paintings.
Is what I work with, but I was primarily teaching screen printing, yeah.
Okay. You received your BFA from Carnegie Mellon. Very impressive. In 2024, you did sculpture, installation, site work, and most recently worked as an arts educator at the Andy Warhol Museum. Very
Yes.
good. Okay. Donna?
Yes.
You began painting in 2020 during the COVID stay, home order, as a lot of people did. They painted or they made bread, it seems like, during COVID.
Yes. I started sewing masks, but after 365 masks, I put the sewing machine away and took out my paintbrush.
Okay. So it's interesting because you say in your bio, seeing all the images that have been hidden, so that all came out in the mask building. So there's upside to COVID.
Yeah.
And Kris, when I looked at your bio, it was sort of the most amazing because I sort of think of people dealing with mental health will be older, and you appear very young.
Thank you.
I don't know. So I was sort of surprised by your age. So, and you've been dealing with mental health since 2019. Mm-hmm. So you've already got a number of years under your belt.
I do.
So, first let's talk to you two about how you can get into as personal as you want here, but how mental health affects your art, you think differently than other artists who use their experiences, and maybe how the art is helping you through whatever you're going through.
I'll start.
Okay.
Okay. I paint, I paint what makes me happy, and I liked this particular show because there was no theme. When you have to paint for a theme, then you're painting what makes someone else happy. My whole thing is paint what makes me happy, and I just get lost in it, and I can paint for hours, and it's just the only thing that takes me away from all of the other cares in the world and just lets me escape and be happy. And as the painting grows, it just brings more and more joy to my heart. And as I've been able to show my art and see that smile come on other people's faces, it's just bringing me joy.
I think that's an artist statement in general. Most artists sort of feel that way. So what was going on with you that you?
Yeah, well, I had come out of a dysfunctional marriage like about a year before COVID, and I wasn't used to being alone. And of course, I felt like hopeless and lonely and all of those things. And a counselor had helped talk me through 5 years of getting out of this marriage and everything. And now here I was just starting to get my feet wet of being a single girl in the world. And all of a sudden I'm locked in my house and all alone, and it just was a very scary, lonely time. And I had to find a way to connect with the world and not, not be scared and alone. And the art gave me the opportunity to do that.
When you were younger, before your marriage, did you have a period where you were alone?
I did, but I think I was much younger then. I was looking forward to the future, where now when you're 60 years old and alone, you kind of feel like, is this going to be the rest of my life? You kind of have a different feeling about it, I think.
It's interesting because I have a house up in Joshua Tree, and lots of artists have moved out there, especially a lot of women who've finished marriages, divorced, and they're up there sort of doing what they always wanted to do with their life. And it's very interesting as opposed to here where it's sort of a young art scene. Up there it's an older art scene. And I think a lot of the people went through what you're going through and then decided, we're going to move to Joshua Tree. And there's like all these artists with gray hair finally doing what they want with their life. So, how about you?
So I'm Mila, as I said, but I've gone through periods of time where I was painting to, make me happy. I was painting like a lot of nature scenes and me interacting with these animals in this really playful way. But I've also gone through periods where I was expressing more serious or darker thoughts and feelings, stress and anxieties, depression, and the goal of making art wasn't necessarily to make me happy, but to allow me a way to express the feelings that I was feeling. We were talking earlier before this started about sometimes having a hard time saying those things in words, but I find it easier to translate the way I feel into visuals. And so actually my therapist recently had me start this assignment where I draw a self-portrait every day. And then I come to session and I show them to her because I have a more difficult time telling her how I was feeling about my week than showing her a picture of what was going on.
And do these drawings really, can you look at them and go, this was from a better day than this is?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Sometimes I am not super in touch with my feelings, and I'll think that maybe there was one time where I drew a drawing for the self-portrait thing that I was doing, and I looked at it and I was like, oh, I must be feeling pretty lonely. And I didn't even really notice that feeling come up in my body until I kind of had expressed it. So it is, making art is really a way for me to get in touch with those feelings, not just for others, but for myself.
So you two are both talking to people at the moment, therapists of some sort. Did they push you to do art? Or is it just because you're artists, you did art?
They haven't pushed me, no, it came from in me.
What about you?
I started painting in 7th grade. I actually chose specifically to take the half-year art class instead of the full-year art class because I wasn't really that interested in art as a kid. And then my teacher was just so phenomenal and showed me just how to think about art in a different way, and like realize that it was something that I actually really liked doing, and I just have been painting since then.
All right, let's get to Kris. So how did you land up in this? How did you land up getting into therapy from the therapist side?
Yeah, so long and sordid tale, but I'll give the short version. I struggle with a lot of my own severe and chronic mental health issues, as well as physical health issues. And for a long time, I used substances to cope. I didn't think I was gonna make it past my 20s. I was very severely depressed. And then I realized the thing that made me feel alive, that like brought a spark back to me, was when I was helping my friends out, when I was talking to them and like listening to the problems that they have. And I had also at the time been doing a lot of like community activism. So I realized I could become a clinical social worker, and it sort of like embodies mental health through the lens of, we call it the ecological system. So how do systems impact people? Their personal little system, their community one, society one. And it really helped me get, a better understanding of myself, a better understanding of my family of origin, and helped me get all of that in line so that I can then go out and do what I was doing with my friends, but on a much better like clinical track, and felt like I was able to spend my 40-hour work week positively impacting the world in the small way that I can. And it brings me so much joy that with everything going on in the world, I get to go home at night and be like, there's a lot out of my control, but today I made a difference in a couple of kids' lives. And so that's also what's really pushed me to continue to work in community mental health rather than go into private practice.
I'll say this very delicately. A lot of the people I know who are therapists had a really rough period like you did. And what do you think it is about going in as a therapist, having gone through that, as opposed to the person who's like, I got my life together, I'm going to tell these people how to...
Yeah. I love that you're bringing that up, because at least in school, you can tell early on what people's experiences have been with mental health when they're coming into the field. And I say a lot to my supervisees, who I'm helping like nurture and grow as therapists, that there are some things they can't teach you in school. They can teach you a lot, and then at the end of the day, you have to, one, find your own voice, find a way to connect. And I found that individuals with experience with mental illness, whether it's personal or in their family, substance use, homelessness, incarceration, lived experience allows you to connect with the person sitting in front of you, I think, easier. And I think in a therapeutic setting, there is already an inherent power dynamic that, like, you know, that exists, that's morally neutral, that's how it is. And if we're not able to look at the person sitting across us and imagine ourselves on the other side of the couch, so to speak, that becomes harder to not give in more to that power dynamic. So when you have that lived experience, when you've been on the other side of the couch, you can navigate that power dynamic, I think, with much more empathy and sort of like embodied knowledge of what it means to be in therapy.
When you go to therapists, do you ever get the sense that they're telling you like not to emote? Like, but that's a very normal thing to emote if you're going through things. And in this country, it's almost like they want to bland everybody down sometimes. Like, don't be so emotional, don't show this, whereas has that ever happened to you guys?
I think that has been my experience more with psychiatry than like therapy or social work settings. I think a lot of the people that I've interacted with in like one-on-one therapy or social work setting have come from that lived experience and like understand more that like suppressing your emotions is what leads to like outbursts and worsen health problems and mental health problems in the long term. My experience with psychiatry, I was like heavily over-medicated as a kid and as a teenager. And I'm like still in the process of like coming off of all the medications that I was put on and off for a long time. I think that, yeah, the psychiatrist didn't really know what to do with me. And so I just was, I think that's kind of the sentiment of like doling things out rather than, whereas like in therapy or social work, they're kind of more giving you the tools to handle when you do have emotional crisis or just stress in general.
And what about, so you guys are sort of different sides of the spectrum. You got depressed after the divorce, having to set things up, whereas you sound like you've sort of, from the beginning, been dealing with a lot of things.
Yeah, I think that my therapist never really tried to talk me out of having emotions. I mean, I think the opposite. The best thing about going there is being free to express anything that you couldn't express anywhere else. And I think that having that person there that's non-judgmental, that you can express your feelings to, you know, the person never tells me what to do, but she was there to hear and for me to talk and kind of be a bouncing board where I could like be listened to and say, well, this is my idea of how my life should be, and does that make sense? But would always help me to answer my own questions.
Do you want to speak to it? Because I know I said that very inarticulately, but I think you probably got what I was trying to say.
Yeah, and I think every therapist is different. However, I would echo what you were saying about the difference between therapy and psychiatry. As someone who is on mental health medication as well as physical health medication, I'm a huge proponent of giving clients information and helping them work with psychiatrists to make sure that what is getting in the way of living their most fulfilling life is being addressed while also not dampening them down. And it's something that I love about working in a community setting like D.D. Hirsch is that I get to consult with the psychiatrist, sit with the psychiatrist, read the notes. And I always tell clients, if you're on medication and you're feeling numbed out, it's not the right medication for you. And I help my clients learn how to advocate for themselves. Because I have seen both in my own life and in my client's life that psychopharmacology, like prescription drugs, can be life-changing, especially with like severe and chronic mental health issues. And so I always say to my clients, my goal is not that you're always happy, but that you are living your most fulfilling life, and however we get you there is good with me. And for me, a fulfilling life needs to incorporate all of the depth of our feeling. It's just when it gets to a point where we're no longer able to cope with it in a healthy way that then we say, okay, is there something we need to do to sort of like help contain it? And sometimes medication is one of the best tools that we can have.
Well, let's talk about your art. Let's talk about this piece that's up here with all the eyes staring at us. What's going on with that painting?
So I did paint this one during my gap year, right after high school, before college. And I had a lot of like social anxiety, I guess, at the time, and I felt like I was being watched and being judged, and in pretty much any space that I went into, even if the, you know, reality of that those fears were not necessarily based in fact. Like, I just had this idea that everyone was watching me. Specifically, I dealt with an eating disorder when I was a teenager, and so like when I was eating, I always thought people were watching me eat, how I ate, how much I ate, things like that. And while that is severely unlikely that people were paying that much attention to me, like not in like people don't care way, but just, you know, in like an over-analyzing way.
Yeah.
So this piece is kind of surrounding that, where it's like they're all at the table around here, but everyone's looking like at you. And so that's kind of how I was feeling, especially around food and things like that.
So is this indicative of a lot of your work at that period?
In high school, I'd say I focused more on like social dynamics, and I have often had like multiple figures within the same piece. So it is kind of similar theme-wise to other things I was making, but style-wise, it's a little different than what I was making.
What about these other two that are behind us here?
I was in college at the time, and I had gotten out of a hospital stay. I was in there for 2 weeks, and I had a project. I was in a painting class, and I had a project due in 3 days. And I talked to my professor, and I was like, hey, as you know, I've been in the hospital, and we have this project due on Monday. What do I do? And he just responded, I'm not worried about it. You'll figure it out.
That's helpful.
So I was like, okay, I don't know what that means, but I'm just gonna get in the studio and see what happens. And so this piece was kind of, it was very quick. Like I did it all in 2 days because it had to dry the third day for the critique. And it was kind of about, it's titled Surreal Monotony, so it was kind of about my feelings being so disconnected from everything while being in the hospital, and like how the days kind of just blended together because there's not really much going on. This was a psychiatric hold that I was on, and so it was just like, yeah, it was just, every day was so monotonous. You did the exact same things every day, and you were so disconnected from your life. And like one thing that I noticed that was so like weirdly depersonalizing about the experience was that like you can't have any of your like own soap or shampoo and things like that. So I didn't like smell like myself. Which wasn't something that I'd ever really thought of before until I went to the hospital and then was like, this is weird. That was kind of a tangent. I'll just be done with that.
Okay. And what about the face behind you?
So this one and the second one, the green and with the trees, were part of my high school concentration. So this one, I was actually based off a photo of my friend that I took, but I added the braces and stuff, and it was kind of dealing with like teenage angst. And that one over there, there is like a person that's kind of like comically smiling, like overly joyous in a way, and then a person that's rowing towards the person in the tree that's like pretty angry. And that was kind of a common experience that I had growing up, was feeling like I couldn't understand how other people were navigating the world in this like, and like seemed to be fine and like seemed to be happy. And I was just, would get angry and frustrated that I didn't seem to be having that experience emotionally. So that was a lot of what I did in high school, and there's like 10 other pieces that are kind of dealing with the same theme, but that are not here. So yeah.
And what about you? Your work seems very opposite. Like the one on the skateboard looks very joyous and happy and bright colors, and it's almost like you guys just artistically went like this.
It's interesting because towards the end of my marriage, I was very depressed, and one day I just couldn't go to work, and I went to the beach and I just rode my bike, and I ended up at this place where there was one of those signposts with all the different directions, and I just sat there, trying to figure out my own life and which way I wanted to go, and stay in my marriage and be miserable, or go out on my own and see if I could make it. And obviously the choice has worked out for me. But that painting was kind of a tribute to that in a way, but I knew I wanted to paint a signpost, but I wanted it to not be physical destinations like the bathroom's here and the beach is there and whatever the typical signposts, because what's more important is not the location, but the inner feelings that you get from it, as far as the joy and the peace and all of the things. I can't remember what words I wrote on there, but just things that bring you joy wherever you are.
So had you gone to art school at all, or had any training, or just you came out of the marriage going, art would be a good way to express myself?
I didn't really have any training. During COVID, a lot of artists went online and started doing paint along classes. So I did that for about a year, and then I just said, well, if I want to be serious about this, I need to just paint without looking at them teaching me. And so I just started painting on my own, and I've been having a great time with it, and
And you're getting gallery shows.
Yeah, and I'm getting gallery shows, yes.
So what's in the future?
Well, I also have a studio now at a place in Torrance called Destination Art, where I have 80 pieces hanging on the wall, so I can paint there. I'm retiring in 5 weeks, and I'm not going to, where did you say that was, Joshua Tree?
Yeah.
But I'm going to Crestline, California,
Oh, okay.
which also has a rising artist community, and I'm going to spend a lot of time there.
And then what about you, art-wise? What are you thinking? What direction you want to go?
So I'm non-binary, I use they, them pronouns, and I've been exploring the feelings that I have about growing up in, a female body, kind of in girlhood, while not feeling like I'm a girl myself. And so kind of looking back at it with, both gratitude and also pain, and kind of holding both of those at once, which is, a classic dialectic DBT thing in therapy. So that's what I'm currently working on. I'm making a bunch of drawings about it, but I kind of shift what I make kind of based on what I'm thinking about or feeling at the time. So it'll keep evolving.
So what do you think of all the artwork in here and the stories it's telling?
I love it. I personally am also a painter, and we do a lot of art at the youth center that I help run, our third place at D.D. Hirsch. We have an art studio there. We do a lot of art therapy. We hang all of the youth art up in the space. And so I really love being surrounded by art in general, but especially art that tells a story. And I think you can really feel that when you're looking at something that's really imbued with an emotional experience. I did help with the production of Thin Air, the short film that's being shown, which the youth made. And so I love it. I've always loved arts use in therapy. I helped co-create the expressive art therapy certification at USC in their Masters of Social Work department. So from day one, I've really loved to see how art and mental health and storytelling sort of come together.
So is your degree in art therapy or social? What's your degree?
I have a master in social work, yeah, with a sub-program that is at USC that gives you this sort of extra certificate of expressive art therapy.
Nice. Does anybody have any questions for our crew here? Here, let me give you the microphone here. You can.
I'm sorry I was late and I don't know your names, but I'm sorry, what's your name?
Mila.
Mila, I'm Daniela. So thank you so much for sharing your journey. And it got my attention when you said that you had a teacher that really helped you change the way that you see art. How exactly did she teach you to see art differently?
So I remember, well, my first assignment with her, she blurred out a picture of a girl with a pearl earring, and she would slightly unblur it every week. But we weren't told it was a girl with a pearl earring, a famous painting, if anyone doesn't know what that is. But so we didn't know what the original, what the image was going to turn into. It was super blurred. And so that taught me to technique-wise, to break things down into shapes instead of painting something as a whole. Like when you're, especially a face or something, it's hard to, if you think oh, well, that's where the eye goes, but then you're at this weird angle, like a 3/4 view, and then you kind of mess things up that way. So technique-wise, that was the first assignment I did with her, and it helped me realize that I could break everything down into a 2-dimensional shape to then create an illusion of 3 dimensions. But in terms of content or expression, she really pushed me and several of my classmates to she was, I don't know how to, I feel like a lot of high school and middle school art, a lot of the time, the assignments kind of lend themselves towards products that are very similar to one another. And she really pushed us to have our own personal style, have our own personal voice. We did some master copies and things like that, so we learned the basics, but then most of the assignments, she was teaching us how to create our own individual voice and style. So I got to explore different styles from a young age and kind of see what I was most interested in. And something that's been very similar throughout my whole lifetime creating art has been my draw towards contrasting super bright colors with more neutral colors and playing with that. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I have another question.
Nope.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What's your
Chris.
Chris? Thank you, Chris. How much do you prescribe? Because I know art. I'll give you an example. I've learned that countries like United States, UK, have started prescribing art classes or singing lessons for postpartum depression or other conditions, depression. And how much do you prescribe art since you have that background?
Yeah, absolutely. So the center that I work at, we are for the ages of 15 to 25. So even right off the bat, the way we try to build relationships with youth is often through a sense of creativity. So we have guitar lessons, cartoon illustration, classes that bring them in. So right off the bat, as far as supervising my team goes, it's something that we really believe in of what's your favorite song? Why do you like it? Youth come in all the time and they already have an art practice. And once we get to the place where they show us their sketchbook, we're I know we're in. The trust is built. And they get really, really excited about it. So one part of it is encouraging their creativity that already exists as a form of intervention, just to build trust and relationship. And then I often will encourage clients to attend our expressive art therapy group. It's a psychotherapy group. We've been running it for 4 years now. And I first did it with adults and then with this transitional age youth population. And once they're there, they start to find the language for their mental health. So especially if I find a youth that has difficulty sort of like with the words and explaining things, I'll often be like, hey, you should maybe check this out. So I almost always lead with creativity for relationship building, and then especially when I see youth who either are already expressing themselves through art or having difficulty expressing themselves with language, I'll really push them in that direction.
Do you see us like moving more towards that direction in the medical system? Yeah.
I do, yeah, and I'm
Yes,
seeing
that's
a lot
exciting.
more of it pop up too in like medical settings as well. So I think creativity in art, music therapy, creative writing, drawing, filmmaking, I'm seeing it pop up in a lot more places, which is really exciting.
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If you look online, there's a company called Art Pharmacy in the United States, which is trying to get prescriptions for people to do art accepted in all states and through Medicare. They have 2 or 3 states right now that will pay for art therapy prescriptions or doing art as a class as a prescription. Art Pharmacy, yeah.
I don't need the mic, I think you can repeat it for me. Wondering how you're navigating the sort of non-personal, the business side of being an artist and the audience. Are there special challenges that you're facing when you choose to display your art, and how you display your art?
I will repeat, just in case. And if you can hear them, I'll edit me out. How are you navigating the business end of art and showing your art and still telling your stories?
Like I said, I paint what's in my heart, you know, and I'm fortunate that what's in my heart seems to resonate with other people. And if I sell a painting, it's a blessing. If I don't, I get to look at that painting longer. They're all like my children, and I hope to send them out into the world. But as long as they're with me, they're bringing me joy. And I'm as time goes on, I'm starting to donate more or try and find places to donate because I do want to send my paintings out in the world. And I'm not sure if I'm really answering the question, but yeah, it's not really a business. It's just a pleasure and a way to interact with other artists and have other people interact with my art. That's my goal in being here.
Yeah, so I like what you said about your pieces like being like you're a part of you, like your
Yeah, my
children or
children, yeah.
something. Really quickly, unrelated to the question, but when I moved here back from Pittsburgh, I had to get rid or sell all of my art that I had made for the 5-6 years that I was in Pittsburgh, and that felt like a really huge loss to me to not be able to like bring some of that with me. So that was what came up with that. But in terms of like the business and stuff, when I was in Pittsburgh, especially I was applying to a lot of like gallery shows and some art compositions or magazines, things like that, to get my work out there and to hopefully get more people to just see my work. I'm also currently rebuilding a website. My website crashed because my friends coded it for me, and then they lost their email access because it was a school email, and then the whole website crashed. So I'm currently building a new website, so stay tuned for that. But I also have like an art Instagram, and so I'm always posting my art on that so that, and it's separate. I have a personal Instagram that's separate from my art Instagram, so like just that page is populated purely with my art, and then like photos of myself or whatever are like on a separate page. Every time I like go to a gallery show or a gallery event, like I always like have that anxiety in me before I show up there. and I don't know, I just like get nervous or like, but then I go there and I like get to connect with people who have similar ways of thinking about art making or just similar shared experiences, and
You find your tribe.
it's just really yeah, I find community, and like some of my favorite things to do would be go to zine fairs, mini magazines, and like get to talk to people about their artwork at like a tabling event. And like for some reason, like when someone's like behind a table and they're there specifically to talk about their work, it's a lot easier for me to like go in and engage with that than like awkwardly stand at a gallery and like choose someone that I want to talk to in the space. So yeah, it is, the art world is stressful. I'm very fortunate to not be relying on my art solely to make a living. So it's not as stressful economically for me as it is for like several other people. But navigating the art world is stressful.
Anybody else? All right, I think we'll wrap it up there. Pam, would you like to have a closing statement?
I don't know.
I guess not. Well, I want to,
I just wanted to thank everybody. Yeah, just
on the microphone,
stay
so
on the microphone, okay?
we want people to
Just,
hear you.
yeah, thank you for those who are watching this as well as that are here. And because I'm sure it's all about, all these exhibits that I do are about creating community. And I love, that you get to not only hear what somebody has to say, but you, as Mila was saying before, you find like-minded people that are, think the same as you do. And it's nice. It's just a nice kind of intimate kind of setting. So thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you.
As I always point out at these talks, what Pam is doing here is really special, because we know that art about mental illness or cystic fibrosis is not on the top of the blue chip list. And there's a lot of things she could do to profit a lot more from this gallery, but she's really dedicated to everyone who shows here and wants them to tell their stories. So we want to thank her for that. And thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.